Well, good afternoon, fellow British model railway enthusiasts. Welcome to Partick Hill Station. This is just a short update. There's a couple of things going on here. I have a new Blue Yeti microphone, which I'm testing out, and also a new Logitech camera, webcam. So we'll just switch over and let you see what's happening there. So today I'm going to start the process of removing this elevated section here and on that side. I think it's sort of too far in the future for me to get to installing track up there. There are a number of other items that I'd like to do in the meantime. And one thing that I might do is add in a third track going all the way around and try and get three trains running at the same time. So I'm just going to put this down for the moment and try and set it up here. Okay. So these are glued down, and I'm going to use one of these drywall tools to try and release it. And you know, it should just pop up. And this way I don't have to remove the layers individually, hopefully. There you go, all in one shot. So that's encouraging. And then what I'll be able to do is just clean all this off. And it comes away quite well. The tables are topped with Homosote, which is an insulating material. And I'm not sure what it's called where you're located. But this comes away easily, not a problem. And I can quickly clean all this up. So as I said, I should be able to get another track in there. So just as an example, there's another track, and you know, that will give me an opportunity to, I'll just turn this camera around, have that down line coming all the way across here, increasing the size of that curve, and then I can have this other down line moving further out, which just creates more room and also larger curves on both sides of the layout. So, and like this point in here, it was a problem. It was just a little bit too tight, I think. So that will give me the opportunity to fix that. And also, I might be able to get another kind of siding in here. So once I've got that cleared up and straightened out, I can then turn attention to this side, and it will enable me to maybe take this retaining wall and put it here, and then add in that third line, and maybe a set of sidings down here somehow. I'll need to think about how I'm going to configure that, but it just opens up other opportunities for me. Right at this point in time, I can have 4 trains on here, which is probably the maximum I can handle. I can have 2 stationary and 2 moving, and maybe another 1 on each track in storage up at that end. Having the additional track provides a little bit more of variety that can be shown on the layout at any one time. So that's great that came off on one shot. As you can see how I spread out the glue when I put it in, and it was quite secure. And the same was done on each of these layers. So I'm not sure how far I will get with this with respect to the upcoming global MRYCG Facebook group presentation on the 5th of April, which I think is Monday. So that's something to look forward to. And if you're tuned in right now, please make note that there will be a 24-hour British Railway modelling series of videos going up live, and a group of members of MRYCG have already signed up for a minimum of 1 hour slots. Now, excuse me, 1 hour slots go very, very quickly, and I've signed up for 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 6 p.m. in the UK, and then you can go from there. So hopefully I may have another track in there, and I haven't decided which trains I'm going to run. Maybe some that haven't been out recently, but I'll have to think about that and see what the best combination, maybe LNER and BR or LMS, maybe a freight train. So, as I said, there's one side of it removed, and as you can see, it does create quite a bit more room. And then if I add in a retaining wall, that's so much better. Yeah, I think the elevated track was a leap of faith, and it was just too far to jump because I have so many other things to do here on the main table, and that's what I'm just going to be working on. Now, I hope you can hear through my new Blue Yeti, and if you can, I'd appreciate if you give me a thumbs up on that. I see that there are 2 people watching right now, so it would be good to get some reaction in terms of the audio. I'm just going to put this down for a second. I'll leave that there. So, oh, there's Peter Clark. Hi, Peter. I hope you can hear me. I was just saying that I've not sure if you were first in or second in, but I have this new Blue Yeti a microphone that I'm going to be making use of for a couple of different things, one of them being these broadcasts. And the other thing is I've got a new webcam. I've got one of these Brios, and it's much better than the other one that I've got that I've been using recently. So not sure if you got what I was driving towards here, but oh, that's great to hear, Pete. Thanks very much. So, you know, over here, I've gone and removed this foam, which was creating, or the intention was to create, you know, an additional set of tracks on an upper level, but it's just too far down the road, and I've decided to remove it, add in another track in here, change the curves in the corner a little bit, and that'll allow me to run 3 trains simultaneously, and give me the opportunity to change trains out, because with only having the 2 tracks is pretty limiting if I'm wanting to maximise what I show here on Partick Hill Station. And Brett, how are you? Good of you to drop by. Where are you tuning in from? It's always good to know where people are. And, you know, this is so much better having this big microphone here, because then I don't have to tether myself to the computer, and it deals with the echo really, really well. So, you know, it's always good to have the right tools, and I brought in a selection from my tool room to make sure that everything came away easily, and it did, and I was very happy about that. So I'm just speaking, doing great. San Francisco, oh, I love San Francisco. I've been there a couple of times. Yeah, so much to see and do in San Francisco. Walked across the bridge to, and then later that day, I think it was, we went to Sausalito, which is beautiful. Yeah, just so many things to see there, wander around in. And of course, I don't know if you notice this, but as you can see, I've got a Tested t-shirt on, Adam Savage and Norm Chan fame, and Will Smith. So I had the pleasure of meeting Norm Chan when I was at Comic-Con in San Diego. What a nice guy he is. A very accommodating, very cool guy. And, you know, he allowed me to chat with him for, you know, a few minutes about different things. And I've met Adam Savage a couple of times, but he had his costume on for Comic-Con, and I met him a couple of times and didn't realize it was him. You know, he came out from somewhere, and, you know, hi, how are you? And, you know, do you mind if I take a photograph, etc., etc. I did all that. And then the last time I was down there a couple of years ago, he had a spacesuit on from one of the sci-fi movies. And while I was chatting to him, he'd just come out of the hotel on his way to the convention centre. And I thought, wow, what a great costume that he's got on. So I walked up excuse me, sir, do you mind if I take a photograph, etc.? And of course, the glass he had on his helmet was reflective, so I couldn't see him. And just as I was saying bye-bye, you know, I touched his the clothing to feel the texture. And he says, "Oh, stop punching me." And I said, "I'm not punching you." And I said, and when he said that, immediately I thought, and I said, "Are you Adam Savage?" And he lifted up the side of his visor, and it was him. So yeah, I was a big follower of Tested. Love all the stuff they do, and very interesting stuff. So, oh, Pete's in Coventry. Yeah, I had something from Coventry one time, Pete. It was a TR7. Oh my God. It was a love-hate syndrome. Loved the car when it ran, hated it when it didn't. Unfortunately, it was more hate than love. And it cost me a fortune just to keep it running. And eventually I had to get rid of it. What a shame, because it was a nice car. Yeah, so I've got a couple of the Tested shirts, and the logo one that says, you know, just says Tested. That's my favourite. Don't know if you've seen this, but that's my Glasgow tenement building. Oh, so it's made out of that foolscap cardboard from, you know, you find on the back of foolscap paper, and you know, I've painted it up and I've added in pieces of wrapping paper to suggest old wallpaper, and there's some travel posters. The other two sides are around here somewhere, and I just have to finish off the roof and then find a spot for it, and that might be challenging. And of course, there's over here, I'll be able to work on my scrapyard, which is, stuff is piling up in there. Anyway, I had issues with the broadcasts. I'm just going to stick this in here, maybe. I had issues with the broadcasts, primarily with the echo, and you know, I was able to eventually deal with that, and I was pushing the envelope because I wanted to maximize what I could show. So I had I've got an iPhone 11 and I was using that, and then I added in an iPhone 6, which was this one, or that's the iPhone 4, and I had an iPhone 6 and I had the iPad in the corner, and it was all run off this MacBook Pro, and for the first couple of times I tried that, it was driving me crazy, because I was getting this ongoing echo. I'm just going to change this up for a second. Yeah, so it had all these echoes going on, and it was crazy for a while. So I tried to break it down and have just a couple. And then when I received this new camera, it's better quality and it's a wider angle, cover more of the track. But I'd like to end up basically with 3 cameras or iPhones filming or recording at the same time, and that would cover most of the layout, and I'll need to try and avoid the use of cables, because I can't go under the table and up the other side. So that Brio is tethered to the laptop, But the laptop, although it's a brilliant piece of equipment, it only has, with the addition of a plug-in, it's called a Smoothping or something like that, ZMUIPNG. It enables me to plug in a couple of different adapters, and one of them, I have the Brio attached and the Blue Yeti. And if you hadn't seen the Blue Yeti, I'll just try and bring it into view here for a second. I can't do that way. Okay, so there's the Blue Yeti. I think we're getting a little bit too much light. I've got windows above me here, a window from the basement. So that's the Blue Yeti, a beautiful piece. I haven't figured out everything it does, but it's so much better than having to rely on a tethered microphone or using an iPhone, because you can forget which one's set up which way for what. So I'll just switch back again, and I've yet to get it working with a couple of cameras for this setup, but that's okay. I'm just trying to see how things work. Yeah, Pete, it is, and it was a gift. My daughter's partner is a young man, the name of Christian Del Grosso. So he and our daughter live in Los Angeles, and I've been there a number of times. They're both in social media, and they buy me all kinds of stuff like this to get me going. And this was a latest birthday gift, was the Brio and the Blue Yeti. So there's no shortage of electronic equipment around here. And I find that, as I build the layout, I just kind of run out of, I don't run out of, but there's so many things on the go. I might just try and run something here while everybody's here. See what I can do. Right, so I've got a black 5. Will be coming around. Hopefully I don't run into any problems. Well, there you go, it made it around okay. Anyway, that Black 5 is one of the nicer running locos that I've got. I have a few of them, but I have a couple that just need some tender loving care. And that's part of what I'm doing. I spoke about the process of trying to catalogue the collection, which you should all do. I'm a big advocate of that. And so basically I've got all my main locomotives in these plastic container boxes that you've seen. And you know, I've got a spreadsheet set up to go along with it, and I put a sticker on the bottom of the local, give it a number, the corresponding number goes into the spreadsheet along with the description, the R number if it's Hornby Triang, so on and so forth, and maybe attach a value to it. And that way it enables me to go through all these boxes and decide, am I going to keep this or am I going to sell it? I'm running out of room to store stuff, and I want to try and get organized and so that I know what I've got and I can bring stuff in and out. As an example, I've got that Coronation Scott. I think it's 9 coaches, and you know, I bring it out now and again, but that's about it. And you know, I sometimes wish that I had been able to have commandeered a bigger portion of the basement here, so that I could have some nice long runs, and that would be suitable for a long train like the Coronation Scott. But that wasn't to be, so I make do with what I have. And I also have some of those Lima, I guess a Mark III blue and grey coaches. And let's see if I can find one. No, I've put it away in a box. I think. Yeah, anyway, they're the very full-size ones. I can't remember exactly how long they are, but it's a shame because, and I haven't run them, and maybe that's something that I'll bring out over the weekend, so that people can see some of the. Oh, Jason, how are you? Good of you to drop by. So just talking about those, I think it's Mark III Lima coaches, the big long ones, and I may bring them out at the weekend because, you know, they've not been out. They've not been on the table, I don't think. And it'd be nice to see something different. And it'll also allow me to test some of these curves. And, you know, you might see, as the train comes around there, I've now got part of a retaining wall over there. And that just replaced the proposed high-level foam construction track. So I pulled this out in one go, came away very easily. There was a construction glue on the other side, and that's a good thing. I'm happy about that. As you can see, it's much more open, and I've just dropped a track in there so you can see what's possible over there. You might even get another siding, who knows. And then the next step is to do that one. Oh, a little bit of a derailment going on there. And that's the other thing is going around these points just to see what's in good working condition and what's not. Yeah, that's the one that's off there. There's always one. You turn it down. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, it's going to open things up a bit, and the it just seemed a waste that that space wasn't being utilised, and there wasn't really any sign of it being utilised in the near future. Let's try and find a spot for it. So Jason, that's a Brio camera, webcam, much wider angle, so better than the other one that I've got. Yeah, and Pete's right, I did get, I'll just show you it. Yeah, how about that? Now that's what you call a microphone. It's a Blue Yeti. As I said, I haven't quite figured out everything it does, but it looks substantial. That's all I can tell you. Now, interestingly, I was speaking with Tony Northeastern the other day, and was talking about the bridge that he built and the one that I kind of tried to emulate. So, yeah, there's the bridge. Now, some of you have seen this before. You can see how I've weathered it, added in some rust, and this was all made out of mat board material that you can get at any art shop. And I made a video, or a couple of videos of how I constructed that. Unfortunately, I still have all the instruments I purchased when I was an apprentice draftsman many moons ago, and among which is a set of trammels, which enable me to set the radii for the girder, and then painstakingly cut it out. It was challenging to put the flanges on it, but I managed to do it, and really very happy with it. Now the question is, what do I do with it now that I've put the upper tracks to bed, let's say, for a while? I'll have to think about that one. Maybe create a scenic break somewhere. But I was very pleased with that construction, and you know, if you want a detailed insight into how I accomplished that, then just have a look on my YouTube page, and you'll see how I approached it and the steps that I took. So while we can, I think I'll try and run something else here. Just bear with me for a second. So there's a Princess Elizabeth coming around. with a nice variety of Hornby and Triang coaches. Yeah, thanks, Jason. Just working away at it bit by bit. Okay, so just hang on here. It's dropped off. If you can hear me, just hang in because should be joining in any minute now. Oh. Always very temperamental, these things. Everything appears to be working, but not really sure what happened there, but the camera appeared to be working, and for no apparent reason, it just stopped. I'll try it again. Anyway, I'm going for a haircut tomorrow, and just as well because here in the province of Ontario, we're going into lockdown again this weekend because we've had a spike in the number of cases of COVID. It's quite troubling. It's actually the British variant that we've got. Not really sure how it got here. Most likely somebody had been travelling back and forth across the Atlantic and brought back with them the variant. So as a consequence, we're going into a 4-week lockdown, which restricts just about everything. However, we will be able to use takeout from restaurants. So let's see if I can try and bring that camera back on. Yep. Yeah, as I said, not really sure what the story is there with the camera dropping off. Yeah, so as I said, we're going into this lockdown, and it will be 4 weeks, driving people crazy. Stores will be closed, only essential services. I was in Glasgow a year ago, and went there in February for my young brother's funeral, unfortunately. So I arrived back here. Well, the interesting thing was, COVID was around, but it didn't seem to be getting a lot of attention. And while in Glasgow, the only people who were wearing masks, besides my wife and I, who wore it occasionally, were Asian students that were attending Glasgow University, and they live in these huge student accommodation buildings close to the university in the area called Partick. Now they were all wearing masks, and I thought, well, they obviously know something we don't. But it was really just their culture. Anyway, when we returned to Toronto on the 7th of March, there was nothing happening. No actions were being taken regarding COVID. And it wasn't until the following week or 2 weeks after that they began to shut places down. Oh, George, welcome. And George, that's not a problem because you can easily take them apart, clean them up, and get them back on the track real quick. Great little locomotives. I've got a few of them in various states of repair, but there's really not a great deal that can go wrong. Clean the wheels, make sure the pickups are okay, etc., etc. If you need any help, I'm sure there'll be lots of people out there to help you, closer than what I am. Anyway, so here in Ontario, we've bobbed back and forth between being locked out and then opening up again. And after a few weeks, the numbers would spike and we were back in. So, not really sure this is all going to lead, but down in the States, it's much worse. Anyway, Jason, just wondering, if you're still there, how many people are committed to this thing at the weekend? I think when I last read your post, it was 9 members, which is disappointing when you look at the number of members that are actually on the list. And it would be great if they could be encouraged, more of them, to participate. So I'm not sure if you've seen these, but I found these, a bunch of them, maybe 6 or so, 7 maybe, at a show. They were in a kind of broken parts box, and they've got these handmade couplings. But when you fit them all together, they look pretty good. And as you can see, that's pretty close coupled for an old set like that. And that goes well with a little bit of trouble here with this one. Just got a little bit of trouble there. So as I was saying about, these are those Airfix kits somebody had built. Pretty worn looking, but that's okay. They were never very clean anyway, and from a distance, they just look more real. So by that, I was inspired to build this Blue Circle cement works, and it's, you know, that brown cardboard from the foolscap, and then either 3DK or scale scenes, probably scale scenes. I downloaded the corrugated papers, both painted and rusted, and then, you know, I made a combination of those. And that just sits in the corner for the moment. Seem to have a little issue here. Not really sure what it is, but could be a coach. It's just not sitting on the track. So, talking about corrugations, there's my latest. That's a corrugated fence for my scrapyard, and I'll just bring it over here so you can get a better look at it. So these are individual pieces of corrugated tinfoil and some balsa wood. And you can actually see that they are corrugated. And I have this little tool that enables me to make them. So I thought an appropriate piece of graffiti should be put on there to warn trespassers off. Anyway, it turned out very good, quite happy with that, looks realistic. Now, I did speak about, well, first of all, the layout is DC. However, I do have a Hornby digital controller. And so what I might be doing, I think I'll make an effort at this, and it may have been Jason that suggested it, take a diesel unit because there's more space there, and add a chip to it. So I might devote one track to digital and see how that goes. And by all accounts, it shouldn't be a big deal. So in the coming weeks, maybe, I think after I get this third track down, I'll maybe have a look at doing that. And then go from there. It just seems a bit expensive to do all the locomotives. And as I say, I'm not really sure if I want to do that. And if I start selling stuff off, might want to think about what I'm going to keep and what I'm going to sell. So problem is with selling, as many of you know, is on eBay, it's gone crazy with not just the asking prices, but also postage. And I spoke about this before. You know, it's a result, I think, of people contacting the seller and say, "Hey, what happened to my package? I paid for it. It's never arrived." And as a consequence, eBay, I think, were left holding the baby, let's say. Now, I think they've now set the rule that you have to track and sign for the package, and if that's the case, that's what would have caused the increased cost in dealing with eBay. So it's a bit of a dilemma. What do you do now when you want to sell or buy? But I have too many locals, George. Yeah, I know what you mean. So the thought occurred to me, well, maybe I should look at trying to sell some of what I have on the MRYCG swap page or sales page. But what I would have to do would be to make clear to the potential buyer that, you know, it wouldn't be £5 to post, you know, because it would be overseas, it would cost more. But I would say that I would endeavour to get the cheapest price for postage, and if they were willing to wait, surface would be the way to go. That would substantially reduce the cost of postage. So that may be an option for me. I got a couple of bad points here. Not only do I have a couple of bad points, but now this ring field motor is squealing. Well, it was squealing. So probably requires a bit of a clean. As I found, a number of these ring field motors do react like that, and you know, probably require more servicing than the loco-driven traditional type one gear motors. I know there are a few different options in terms of remotoring, and you know, you can take a motor from an old CD player and put it in, and Strath Peffer does that. He offers that service. He rigs up the CD motor, packages it all for you, and makes for an easy installation. But maybe with a little bit of TLC, you can accomplish the same thing. So I'm just trying to get a freight train out here just for a bit of variety. Well, it's a screamer too. It's an Airfix or a DAPL. I think that one's a DAPL. Oh. Major derailment here. Yeah, I think I'll have to shut that one down. But not only is it noisy, but I think it's beginning to smell a little bit. And then, of course, I had a little bit of a derailment here. And I think the culprits could be some of the older Triang coaches. For some reason, they tend to come off the track a little bit easier than others. And, you know, possibly if I add in some weight to them, that might help. No guarantee. And some of you might know better than me. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I can still hear the rattle. Yeah, George, nice of you to drop by. Come again. And tune in at the weekend. £12 for a ginty, that's okay. Can't complain about that. I've got the little 040 coming around. With the sort of handmade or modified tender. As you can see there, I chopped up a wagon, added in a couple of bits, and threw in a little bicycle, some coal, and it looks the part. And of course, it runs great. Never a challenge, never a problem. So for the weekend, how many of you guys are actually going to be participating? And what are you going to be running? always a challenge somewhere along the line. Well, Pete, you're not into it. Well, I guess everybody's got their own reasons. Some people are not into being on camera or talking, and I will admit that it's not easy trying to run trains, talk, watch what's going on, think on the fly, and you've got to do all these things. And you always have to have something to say. No silent pregnant pauses, anything like that. And I don't use a script, but I try to think about stuff that's going on, stuff of interest, what I'm up to, what you guys might like, and so on and so forth. I mentioned it before. Whenever we go on vacation, we generally rent a vehicle, and we've rented vehicles in New Zealand and Australia, and actually we didn't rent one in Australia, but Hawaii, different places, Florida, and of course the UK. And so I always like to do a little video and talk about the car rental, how much it costs, and pros and cons. So here's one for you. In North America, you need a credit card, not a debit card, if you're going to be renting a vehicle here. So if you plan a trip to Florida or wherever, make sure you got a credit card. They don't take cash, they only take a credit card. Now, in terms of insurance, the credit card will cover you for any accidents, damage, etc. that you might have. So you can just say, no, thank you, I don't want your insurance, I have my own, and that's it. Now, they'll try and persuade you otherwise, but I insist. So, when we were in Glasgow last, I had ordered a Citroen 7-seater, because some of the family came over. And when I went to pick it up, and I told them that I didn't require their £10 or £15 a day insurance, whatever it was, they tried to use the bullying tactics, and that was, oh well, if you don't do that, then we have to take £500 of a deposit. I said, do what you like, but I'm not paying your insurance because it's covered. And I said, in fact, I checked it before I flew in. And of course, I was correct. And all they try to do is bully you into buying insurance. So, if and when you start traveling again, and use your credit card to cover the rental of a vehicle, call A, your insurance company before you travel, and B, call the credit card and just verify that you will be covered under their insurance policy. And I would guess that you are covered. So it's buyer beware when it comes to renting vehicles. And another thing, we showed up in Florida one time, a couple of years back, and I'd booked a car and gone through the whole process, and I was having trouble with the arrival time. I couldn't get it to clock in at the time I wanted it. So when we got down to Orlando or Miami, wherever it was, they said, "Oh, your car's gone. You said you were going to be here at noon, and it's now 6 p.m." And I said, "Well, yeah, I had trouble with your site, but where's my car?" And of course they said, "Oh, we don't have any cars left." Anyway, I searched around and wasn't able to find a car. Went back to the same place. Okay, what do you have? And as you can imagine, they shafted me big time by saying, "Well, here's the deal. It's going to cost you X number of $100 until Monday." So what I did was, okay, I bit the bullet on that, and then immediately went onto their site and rebooked a car for a far less price. So you really got to watch what you're doing when you're traveling. Keep your wits about you. So there you go. There was a pregnant pause where we're just watching trains. And that might be okay because Rob Johnson, how are you, Rob Johnson? So Rob and I have been communicating, and I sent him a little surprise, and I think he got it, and he sent me a little surprise. So we'll see how that turns out. Anyway, it's a great community because you can make friends and build relationships very, very easily. Just by reaching out, it works. And my wife complains about all my friends on the internet with whom I talk. Meanwhile, I don't talk with her. But that's another story for another time, lads. You do your best. So it's 0 degrees here. A couple of days ago, we were out for a walk and it was 17 degrees. So we're at that point where the weather's not really sure whether it should snow, rain, or shine. But it's coming. And that's the nice thing about living here in the Toronto area. Summers are great, from June till September. You're guaranteed, you can plan a barbecue whenever, and you're kind of guaranteed that you'll get good weather. Now, when the kids were younger, still at school, we would take summer vacations and go to Scotland, go to Europe, go to Florida. But now we don't do that so much because there are other options. We can enjoy the summer here, rent a cottage, which we've done in the past. And it's now done through Airbnb. And there are thousands of cottages for rent in the Lake Districts here, north of Toronto. And some of them are spectacular, but we always say we need one that's on the water. That's important. And we want 2 or 3 or 4 bedrooms, and so on and so forth. And that way we can have kids and grandkids come and join us. So we've been very fortunate in that respect. So the way things are going here in Toronto, I No, Rob, yours has not arrived yet. I'm waiting patiently to see where it is. Well, at least I know where it is, but I'm waiting patiently because I want to see this. Anyway, I don't think there's going to be any model railway shows here for the foreseeable future, which is unfortunate. And I was just watching some of the video from Model Rail Scotland, which I attended for the Saturday a year ago in February. And as I said, that was the first time I'd ever been there, because generally I wouldn't go to Scotland in February. I'd rather go somewhere warm. I give the pigeon extra corn for the journey. Yeah, it should be here sort of any day now, Rob. I think I sent a parcel recently to Tony Northeastern, and it said up to 12 days. I think yours arrived, I think 10 days after I'd sent it, or something of that nature. Always nice to get a parcel in the mail. A nice surprise. So I'm going to be doing an unboxing and demo of a Cricut maker, it's called. The brand name is Cricut, and the model that I've got now is Maker. And what this will enable me to do is I can sketch out on a little CAD piece of software the outline of a building, and then that data will be transferred to this machine, and I will lay in the plastic card into the machine, and the head will start cutting out that shape. So, as an example, I could sketch this out and then transfer it into the Cricut Maker, and it will cut that out exactly, and I won't cut any of my fingers off, and I won't have any frustration trying to get thin slivers of plastic cut, and I'll be able to make all my own windows and doors, etc., etc. So I am looking forward to doing that, and as I said, within the next few days, I think I'll videotape the unboxing, and I'll do a simple demo that comes with the machine itself. There'll be a piece of software that will include some simple shapes that you can cut out, or maybe I'll go as far as to draw up something simple, like this, and see how it goes. But it's a fabulous piece of equipment and a real boon to model makers and miniature makers. So some of them, if anybody out there is interested in them, go on the internet. The Air 2, I believe, is the model down from the one I've got, and it was recently on sale for about just under $300. The benefit of getting the Maker, which runs in just under $500, is that you can cut up to 2 millimeters thick plastic card or card of other materials, and it will cut leather if you're into cutting leather. And extremely accurate. So yeah, well, I think I explained, Rob, I started out as a draftsman in the shipyards in Glasgow, and I made my way over here, and years later when CAD came around, I managed to get into that, and so I can do a bit of 3D modeling, and learned a lot of different software packages through the years. So stuff like this I can get by with relatively easy. Before I retired, I was a supervisor. I coordinated projects and set up and ran systems that could quantify the model. And when I say the model, we would build a scale, or really it's a full-size model of the actual installation. Like, we designed mineral mining processing facilities for mining companies all over the world, and those were we built that in the computer in bits and pieces. We could have 100 guys working on the project doing different parts of it, and each part that you modeled, including a column, a beam, a bracket, piece of angle iron, anything like that, had an identity within the model. It had a discrete number which you could track and then quantify. So I could gather all that information from the database and print out quantities and status of, is it complete, is it 50% complete, etc. And that way we could track the productivity as well as report to the client with the status of the model and how we were approaching the end date. But things are, in the model railway world, they're much simpler, although I did find that Rail 6 a little bit challenging. And I laid all this track without really referring to that. But it's a nice piece of software, and you can now do great things with simple tools. So don't be afraid of trying stuff. Here, the libraries have 3D printers. And so when I was, let's get this out here. All right. So there's my 3D printed buffer stock. Now, I downloaded that file, and I had at that time already purchased my 3D printer, and that print is done with filament. So there's two particular types of 3D printers. The filament type is the one that you've seen there, and the other is resin. Now, the resin has certain advantages. With the resin one, you can print with a higher level of accuracy, and you might be able to print some figures at 1:76 scale. It's a whole different setup. Meanwhile, with the filament, you don't get the same accuracy, but let's just do a little comparison here. Right, so there's two side by side, and they both look very similar. I think this one is a Pico. I'm not really sure at this point, but they look very similar, and yeah, don't see a big difference. So when I got to, so I downloaded the model of the buffer, and then I took that on a stick and I went to the library and I plugged it into the computer down there, and there's a software package called a slicer. And basically what that does is it takes your 3D model and then it slices it horizontally, mathematically. Okay, it's in the software and it's slicing like 0.5 millimeters at a time. And then that data is transferred to the printer. And the printer interprets that slicing software, and that's how it lays down the filament onto the table. And so if you looked very, very closely at this, you may see a kind of rough edge. And that's from the slicing that is done, but you can sand it down a little bit and then paint it, and it looks just great. So I think on the occasion when I used the library's printer, which was free, by the way, I printed out 9 of them, and they all worked just fine. So, knowing that the model was good, I then came home, set up my printer, and printed a few more from there. And I printed a few different things, but presently it's out of service because I have to replace the nozzle in the head. A simple task, I just have to turn the heat up so that the nozzle warms up, and then I can unscrew it with a spanner. Let it cool down, replace the nozzle, and hopefully that will take care of everything. Anyway, I've been on for an hour and 24 minutes, and I'm sure you're kind of tired of listening to me, but that just demonstrates what you have to do if you're going to be running trains and communicating with people using YouTube. Generally, they like to hear a voice with a bit of input, and they don't really want the silent treatment. Music is good, it helps, but you really have to speak out and communicate with your audience, and that draws them in and helps build on what you're trying to do. So everything looks good here for the weekend, for the 24-hour global broadcast, and I'll be on at 6 p.m. GMT. I'll pull a couple of things out, get them on the track, and make preparations so that everything's running okay and the cameras are running and we'll be ready to go. So, say hi to Tim for me. So I'll sign off now, and thank you all for dropping by. It's very good to see you in here and chat, and look forward to the next time. And I'll just let this run out for a minute, and then we'll be gone. And see you at the weekend. Bye for now.